Welcome to Civic Innovators, where we explore how government leaders modernize complex systems to improve service delivery and customer experience. Today, Noam Reininger, CEO of Accela, and Joe Morris, Chief Innovation Officer at Government Technology, sit down with Kim Roy Wilson and Sally Martin O'Toole from the city of Cleveland, Ohio. A city undergoing a major transformation as part of the Cleveland era, focused on becoming more business-friendly, improving transparency, and moving at the speed of business. We asked, how can cities modernize complex permitting processes while maintaining accountability, transparency, and a strong focus on the customer experience?
Welcome to the Civic Innovators podcast. This is where we talk to leaders that are transforming how government services are delivered and really focusing on continuously improving constituent experiences. I'm Noam Reininger, the CEO of Accela.
And I'm Joe Morris, Chief Innovation Officer at eRepublic. Today, we're headed to Cleveland, Ohio, where the city's modernization agenda is being shaped by the Mayor Justin Bibb's vision for what's called the Cleveland era, becoming more business-friendly, improving customer service and experience, and modernizing the city's operations to move at the speed of business.
So today, we're joined by two fantastic leaders from the city of Cleveland, Kimberly Roy Wilson, who is the Director of Information Technology, and Sally Martin O'Toole, who's the Director of Building and Housing. So Cleveland's been undergoing a radical modernization effort of putting permitting and plan review into the cloud, really focusing on the citizen constituent resident experiences. They've also rolled out a citywide digital plan review solution as well, and included the delivery of KPI, data, and dashboards that's helping them identify bottlenecks as well as improve staffing, all while meeting constituent expectations, exceeding them, driving a tremendous amount of accountability and transparency. So the big question for us today is, how can a city undergo a tremendous modernization effort like this while maintaining the highest standards for accountability, transparency, and really focusing on constituent experiences? So let's focus on your story, this big modernization effort that you're undergoing. And there's a couple things that, we heard in the new Cleveland era. One is moving at the speed of business and really focusing on the customer experience, and a statement of meeting customers where they are. So what does that statement mean for you all, and how did you approach this transformation?
Meeting customers where they are and moving at the speed of business. From a modernization perspective now, it's about taking our legacy data, our legacy, if you will, systems, and upgrading them. And so one of the first areas we wanted to start with regard to our cloud first, if you will, environment is moving Accela from on-prem to the cloud. And so in doing that, there's two things that we get on the back end of this. We get the ability to be secure in an environment that's way more secure than the city could possibly provide the security, as well as we are in the position to be able to transform with the business by way of the updates and enhanced features as they become available on the cloud as we move forward, as opposed to being on-prem. Now, meeting customers where they are, it's more about ensuring that we create an environment for the customers to be able to navigate through our technology systems easier, faster, so they can do exactly what they want to do when it comes to obtaining a permit or a license. And so our goal here from a technology perspective is always to be able to create a platform that allows the navigation to be very simple, very navigable, very user-friendly. And on the back end is also to allow the back end office to be able to process, if you will, all that information in a timely manner, and allow the departments and the end users to be able to be transparent with what they're doing and what's happening.
So before we get into all the amazing things that you did on the modernization front, it'd be neat to have you walk us through kind of what that reality was for your customers and your staff and how you got to the addressing it. Like, At the beginning of the podcast, we talked about paper, we talked about the 16 departments, we talked about maybe some of that confusion and chaos and maybe the lack of visibility. What problems ultimately brought you to being where you are today?
Construction permitting in Cleveland has had a very poor reputation. But that being said, 80% of all of our permits were issued within a day or two of someone applying for them. But it was those 20%, those complicated projects that had up to 16 reviewing bodies. People were very confused by the process. They didn't know where things stood in real time with their project. They would call us. They would try to figure it out. They would be frustrated with the time it was taking. And sometimes we'd even lose things like plans. Paper plans would come in, huge rolls of paper plans. Those were easy to lose when they would be transferred from department to department for people to look at them. And so obviously we wanted to find a way to put the customer's experience first in everything we do. So one of the first steps was we hired a customer experience manager. We spent a lot of time analyzing current process to see what we wanted our future state to be. And we worked very closely with IT, and they've been amazing, putting in thousands and thousands of hours to get to where we are today, which is a very transparent process with Acella's help, our hand in glove partner in this work, and it's gone very well. So that the customer knows in real time where the project is, how much longer it might take. It isn't necessarily a simple process because there's complexity to complex projects in Cleveland. We do almost $2 billion of construction permitting in a year. So it's a lot of projects coming through, and many of them are larger projects, and there's many hands in it. So we now have gotten to a point where I believe we have a transparent process, much easier with the electronic plan room than we had in the past, with paper plans being exchanged or lost.
So, Sally, I'm curious. You talked about the electronic plan room and 16 departments. And so you have an electronic plan review solution that's integrated with Accella and part of Accella. Tell us about the why behind that, and what are the results that you're starting to see now in terms of the ability to collaborate and get multiple folks on the same page.
What's been amazing about the electronic plan room is that with multiple reviewing bodies, they can look at the plans at the same time and mark them up at the same time, so that at the end, all of those comments are given to the customer as one set of comments instead of customers getting sets of comments from different departments. Then it completely confuses them as to what's wanted, so that we, at the end, we compile everything. It's very neat and tidy, and it's done in real time. So each of the departments that's reviewed it puts their stamp on it that they've seen it. Those comments are collated and given back to the customer. So everyone is raving about that. It's been a sea change for the positive.
This is where, moving at the speed of business. And that's really a transition from where we were. Most of what was happening even was more manual, more coming to City Hall, and Sally will speak to what they call the City Hall crawl. And even on the back office, there were silos in terms of who was doing what and who had what. So being able to have technology that enables the business to move at the speed of business actually impacts the resident or the business owner when it comes to their ability to get things done in a timely manner. And that is what modernization is about at the City of Cleveland, finding platforms such as Accella to be able to create an environment, a transformation of delivering services, if you will, through our building and the housing department.
Let's stick with that for a second. You talk about the speed of business, but this other theme that's kind of come up in the conversation so far has been how visibility plays a role in achieving that speed of business. Whether that's having that single source of truth for your residents, to your teams, but also maybe that visibility contributing to the help clarify who's waiting on who. Is the challenge on the kind of the government organization end, or is it on the applicant end? So maybe you can kind of speak to the role and the importance of visibility now in this new process.
Visibility results in accountability. And that's what we're seeing both with internal staff and external stakeholders. So now with the new technology, it's very easy to see who's waiting on who. In the past, it wasn't so simple. And so if oftentimes too, it can be the applicant. So the applicant's design professional is telling them that they're waiting on the city, but in truth, we're waiting on the design professional. That's happened many times. So it provides that level of transparency to the customer. They can say, wait, this says the city has done what they need to do. We're waiting on a revised set of drawings. They go back to their design professional and move it forward. So I think, with all of the innovation that we've done, what we've been able to do also is build Power BI dashboards that take the data from the Excel system and create, we know exactly how long something has been waiting on one of our staff for. So if we know there's a backlog in one department and we see consistently there's a backlog in that department, it allows us to think about capacity in that department. Maybe they need another staff person. So having those metrics and proving out, where we have capacity needs is also, from a budgeting standpoint, really, really important. And that data then proves out what we need.
Sally, I'm glad you mentioned the data. And what we've seen a lot is that departments that are exceptional at delivering services are continuously looking at KPIs and dashboards and finding bottlenecks and challenges. And you talked about, staffing as being a potential bottleneck. What other kind of bottlenecks are you looking at with the data? How are you using it operationally? You mentioned, is that a regular review that's happening to look at staffing levels? Maybe share a little bit more about how you're using insights and KPIs.
Yeah, it's a daily review for us. We look at it every day. We look at where everything is in the pipeline, what projects are waiting on, what departments, it's absolutely essential for us to see that in real time so that we can course correct and address problems before it becomes a headache for the customer. And so we've been able to do that. Our customer experience manager pores over this data every day. And in fact, we were poring over the data last week and we realized, wow, it's going to be essential to do some overtime this weekend so that we can clear some of these queues. And we did. And the staff cleared the entire queue. But again, without that visibility, without seeing that in real time, hour by hour, things can get completely out of control and then very backlogged. So we've been able to stay on top of it this way, and also make those budget arguments about why we need additional capacity in an area. And I think it's much better to have data backing us up rather than some subjective, it feels like we need more people. No, we can show you why we need more people, and that's been really helpful. And the mayor's very determined to get this right. This is a core objective of the Cleveland era, is to make construction permitting go faster. And we have regular check-ins with our developer community, with our commercial brokerage community, to talk through what we're doing. And I would say this is a very big year for us because now it's very transparent. We can see everything. We can see where bottlenecks are. This is the year to try to eliminate steps that we think are not necessary to the process, make the process go much faster. So I think what we did this first go round, these 10,000 hours we all put into this, was to get it to where we could see it. It was very visible to us. And now, how do we make that even better? How do we really need all these departments involved with the construction permitting process? Can we simplify it? Can we have fewer people involved? Do we need so many boards and commission reviews of projects? Can we simplify that? That's the part we're working on now, and that's going to help take us much further, I think. But this was the biggest first step, and it was a big one. It was a lot of effort, but I think it's bared a lot of fruit for us as well.
I love the data-driven approach. Absolutely. And, earlier you talked about both the volume of permits, but the scope of the projects that you have within the city as well. And clearly not all permits are the same. You've got simple permits that are issued quickly, and then you've got also complex permits that require tremendous clarity and coordination to kind of see through themselves through the process. How are you thinking about making easy things even easier? Particularly when you're managing those complex projects and you're trying to achieve that transparency that we were just talking about. So when you look kind of around the corner, what do you see as what's next to improve that front door experience online?
Well, we have a few things that we're working with our Excella team on right now, especially customer waiting indicators for people who want to pick up their permit the same day. They want to wait in the lobby. They want to get the permit. We built out this machine for the most complicated projects, but we want to make the easy projects better than before. And so that is a constant work in progress to make sure, and Mayor Bibb brings this up all the time. We've got to make the easy things easy because we have a lot of complexity. But if, we get to this point where things that are simple or harder, we have not achieved our objective, which we agree with. But I would say this ability to apply from home, this ability not to have to drive down to City Hall, pay for parking, go through all of that just to get something simple. We want to make it just as quick and easy. Just sit in your living room, order your permit, print it out, and be done with it. So that will result in great advantage to the customer. And we're measuring what the customers think. So we have a portal in our department where a customer can let us know of their, how they feel. It's like a smiley face or a frowny face, and they can choose the range. We also have it built into the system where there's a QR code. You can go and tell us what you think. You can click a link and tell us what you think. And so we're watching that customer feedback. We want to see if it's going to start ticking up where we make some tweaks. And so that's one of the roles of our customer experience managers, constantly monitoring that customer feedback and adjusting to it in real time. And our Excella partners have been great about that. So where we did find there was some confusion initially with the portal, in certain areas, it was immediately course corrected and done that same day. We got it straight for the customer. So we got their feedback. We reacted to their feedback thanks to Excella.
And just piggybacking off of what Sally said, in terms of our seller partners, they have been sitting at the table with us as we began to map out these processes. So this was a project that took, it wasn't overnight. And honestly, as we were mapping out business processes, our seller partners had an opportunity to modify and tailor, if you will, our processes to the technology platform, which is what we were looking for. This is a platform that definitely works for the city based off of our internal processes, if you will. We took some time to bring in a third party to help us document what those future state processes should look like. And Excella walked us through what that is and how we could shape and create a platform that works for the city as well. Being able to have a platform that you can scale, right, definitely will enable the city as well as the departments within the departments to grow and transform as we move forward. And that's what, from a technology perspective, we look for. Partners that are at the table, literally working with us to create, if you will, alignment with their technology and processes is what we're looking for as we move forward.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Kim and Sally, for spending time with us today. What's really clear is the tremendous partnership that's there between the information technology organization and the the building and housing side. And really, it shows the art of the possible when there's a tremendous modernization effort, but it's focused on business speed. It's focused on the customer experience. I think what was really interesting is that you brought in a customer experience professional as part of this transformation to really focus on and then have a really tight feedback loop to continuously improve both velocity as well as the experience for constituents as they're applying for permits. So thank you so much for spending time with us today.
But as Sally said, this is the beginning, right? This is an evolution of how we are changing, if you will, and modernizing our technology to enable our department. So we're happy to be a part of this entire journey.
So for our audience, thank you for joining the Civic Innovators podcast today. And until next time, keep asking the bold questions.